Assalamualaikum and welcome to lesson 5 of my video presentation on problem-based learning. I'm Hussain Othman, a PBL practitioner. In this lesson, we are going to discuss briefly the historical background of problem-based learning since its first inception as an alternative and hybrid learning approach until it became one of the most sought-after learning and teaching approaches at schools and institutions of higher learning throughout the world. In the first three lessons, I have shared examples of three African children who successfully embarked on the problem-based learning journey. However, these examples could not directly be associated with problem-based learning as a teaching and learning approach introduced in the formal curriculum at educational institutions throughout the world. Instead, their experience is pointing towards the way we, human beings, naturally learn when facing problems. Any new invention on PBL as a learning approach is certainly based on the premise that as a human being, we learn best through problems. Generally, problem-based learning as a new inventive learning approach introduced at educational institutions had gone through three significant phases. Phase 1 of PBL initiation could be traced back to the mid-1950s at Case Western Reserve University, Ohio, United States, and the case of Harry Shoemaker's curricular revolution in the 1960s. Both cases could represent PBL 1.0. At Case Western Reserve University, PBL originated from medical education in the form of a hybrid format combined with more traditional teaching and learning methods. In its purer form, PBL can be traced back to the case of Harry Shoemaker in 1960. As a trainer at US Army Signal Corps, Shoemaker got frustrated with the level of skills among his trainees after went through his didactic talk and chalk and one-way teacher-centered learning. Most of these young electronic maintenance personnel could not master the skills and achieve a required level of expertise. He then decided to transform his teaching strategy by presenting his trainees with a bunch of various electronic equipment. He asked them to use any resources and electronic components they could find to fix this broken equipment. After completing the cycle of the course, they demonstrated significantly better skills in electronic troubleshooting, working with electronic test equipment, and performed better in the written test. A decade later, in the 1970s, McMaster University in Canada decided to redesign its medical school curriculum using medical problems as the stimulus for learning. This is following the studies conducted by Howard Barrows, who researched and observed the reasoning capabilities of both medical students and expert practitioners. Barrows' work enabled PBL to become a more advanced concept and learning method that transformed medical education and focused more on bridging the gap between theory and practice in the clinical setting and increasing reasoning abilities. It symbolizes and also marks the beginning of PBL 2.0. In 1974, Aalborg University, Denmark was established. They opted for an alternative approach to curriculum development and students' learning approach. Rather than following the conventional way of designing curriculum and offering the lecture-based delivery, they decided to use problems as the basis of curriculum and project as the delivery and learning approach. It soon becomes problem and project-based learning. The approach is highly regarded in engineering education. The Aalborg PBL model could best represent another variant of PBL 2.0. Although it was only a transformation from the medical studies to engineering studies, the enhancements of problem-based learning through project-based is certainly a step further for PBL. PBL began to attract attention from educators at Malaysian higher learning institutions when outcome-based education curriculum model was introduced at the national level in the mid-2000s. The uniqueness of PBL in enhancing students' learning outcomes enabled this approach to become one of the best OBE learning strategies. During that time, PBL was already known and applied worldwide in multidiscipline areas. PBL was introduced and practiced in social sciences and humanities, as well as science and mathematics. In our case, me and my team, we were using PBL in humanities studies, including courses in history and civilization, language, social science, management and education, as well as for training sessions since 2005. Since the first decade of the 21st century, Cindy Mello Silver, Sharon Derry, and others had already explored the application of electronic PBL or ePBL. With further growth of e-learning applications, PBL gains its momentum to move into the next level of educational development. Burhanuddin and others had developed a framework for ePBL where proactive, collaborative learning could be applied through full online PBL classroom. The whole PBL process installed into e-learning application and platform, including the problem scenario presentation, diagnostic process, self-directed learning, and reflective learning. One great advantage of this ePBL is that the students could be able to experience PBL in a less stressful learning condition, anytime and anywhere. Learning resources are almost everywhere and easily accessible at any time. ePBL represents initial transformational stage of PBL 3.0. The emerging trend of Education 4.0, however, challenges the current practice of PBL 3.0. PBL practitioners, therefore, should be looking forward to speeding up the transformational process of PBL to adapt with the emerging trend of Education 4.0. ePBL requires educators to change their philosophical understanding of learning, as well as unlearn all irrelevant skills and relearn new highly relevant skills. We are going to discuss further in details about ePBL in the upcoming videos and lessons. I leave this message from Plutarch, a Greek Middle Platonist philosopher, for us to ponder. The mind is not an empty vessel that needs filling, but woods that needs igniting. Thank you very much for your time and kind attention to my presentation. Viewers who are new here, please subscribe to my channel so you'll get more notification on my upcoming videos. And don't forget to like and share this video. If you have something to share, please leave your comment below. Have a great day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.